Hello, I want to welcome you to the next installment of my YouTube video campaign. My name is Kurt Hayes, and I'm a candidate for state representative of the 37th Middlesex District here in Massachusetts, which is comprised of the towns of Shirley, where I am this evening, Lunenburg, Harvard, Boxborough, as well as portions of Acton and Lancaster. As I mentioned in my introductory segment, I'm here to talk about what I mean when I say I'm going to go to Beacon Hill to fight for change that makes sense. Now, I'm here in the Hazen Memorial Library this evening for this segment because this was to be the location and the time of a town hall style forum between the two candidates for this race, in which the undecided voters were going to ask the questions of us in a side-by-side environment. Now, this seemed like a change that made sense to the voters I talked to. Have more informal debates and forums where they could ask the direct questions here during the summer. It also made sense to the town moderator who agreed to be the moderator for a forum of this type with the two candidates. It also made sense to the Shirley volunteer editor who agreed to be our sponsor. But unfortunately, my opponent has not yet agreed to participate in these forums in the 6 towns of the district here during the summer months of July and August. So now let's get back to the topic at hand, which is change that makes sense. Now, change is certainly the buzzword you're hearing in every campaign this year in 2008. From president on down the ticket, everyone wants to talk about change. Unfortunately, most of that change is based on empty rhetoric and promises. My change is based on real forethought and a long-term view that's going to focus on restoring your hope in our government on Beacon Hill and trust that we are looking out for you over the special interests. So to get specific, one change that I would propose that is a change that makes sense is returning $450 million of lottery money that was intended for the cities and towns of Massachusetts, but has instead been diverted to the state's rainy day fund over the last several years. Now, this particular diversion of money means things like $700,000 to the town of Shirley. To find out how much it means to your town specifically, you can go to 450million.org and look into this issue and how much money it represents to your town. Not only do I support this initiative, I helped drive a question onto the November ballot so that the voters of the 37th Middlesex District, in addition to voting for your candidates, will get to let your representative know whether you support the idea as a change that makes sense of returning that $450 million to the towns and cities of Massachusetts. Another change that makes sense is the rollback of the state income tax from 5.3 to 5%. The voters made it very clear that that was their wish several years ago on a ballot question, and I support that initiative to roll it back. That would represent $700 million of money left in taxpayers' pockets each year. Now, I know that the Beacon Hill insiders, the special interests, the lobbyists, and the unions will decry that this is lost revenue and they can't live without it. But let me put that $700 million in perspective. When you look at $700 million on a $28.2 billion plus budget, $700 million is only 2.5%. That means that the state would need to find $2.50 out of every 100 of our tax dollars that they spend in waste and inefficiency and even corruption. With all the stories we see every day in the newspaper and on the television news programs, I have no doubt that if we get leaders who will take a top to bottom look at our state government, we can find $2.50 out of every 100 in savings. Just as the towns and we as individuals have to live within our means and find on occasion that $2.50 that we need to cut back, we need to expect our state government to do the same thing. Now, these two changes I just talked about, the $450 million back to the towns and the rollback of the state income tax to 5%, are only changes that make sense if you have leaders that are elected on Beacon Hill who are going to go there with courage and the persistence to face up to the bureaucracies, the special interests, and the unions that are going to fight every inch of the way to preserve their status quo and their use of the money, which in many ways is inefficient and wasteful spending. So that is the one campaign promise that I will make. If you elect me to be your state representative, and with your support and encouragement, I will go to Beacon Hill with courage and a cheerful persistence to always represent your interests over the special interests. So I thank you for tuning into this segment of my YouTube video campaign to hear just a couple of the ideas on change that makes sense. In my next episode, I'm going to talk about an important crossroads that we're at here in Massachusetts. We are indeed standing at a crossroad. One path continues us down the path towards economic disaster here in Massachusetts. Economic disaster that's backed up by the fact that several 100,000 Massachusetts citizens have left the state in the last several years, taking with them the tax revenue, the jobs, and the businesses that any economy needs to be healthy. And another example of that is that we currently carry the highest debt load per capita of any state put on us by our state government. So that one path continues that economic downward spiral. The other path, which you need new leaders to go after, is getting us back to fiscal sanity and providing a brighter future for us here in Massachusetts. I look forward to talking to you in more detail about that in the next episode. Thank you again for tuning in. Check kurthayes.com for frequent campaign updates, and I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Thank you very much.